Hello, hi peoples. I hope all is well. I hope all is good. We're gonna do some light reading today. I don't want to call it light because it is 3 chapters. It is 3 chapters of reading. We're going from chapters 19 through 21 and then Psalms 46. Dang, I'm jumping days. We're going to Psalms 46, and then from there we will be done for today. Yeah, from there we'll be done for today. So let's hop in. There was no devotional, no links in the bio, no links in the description. So let's just start reading. The water of purification. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Here is another legal requirement commanded by the Lord. Tell the people of Israel to bring you a red heifer, a perfect animal that has no defects and has never been yoked to a plow." Hold on, let me mute. Because my phone be doing too much sometimes. Okay. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Here is another legal requirement commanded by the Lord. Tell the people of Israel to bring a red heifer, a perfect animal that has no defects and has never been yoked to a plow. Give it to Eleazar the priest, and it will be taken outside the camp and slaughtered in his presence. Eleazar will take some of its blood on his finger and sprinkle it 7 times towards the front of the tabernacle. As Eleazar watches, the heifer must be burned, its hide, meat, blood, and dung. Eleazar the priest must then take a stick of cedar, a hyssop branch, and some scarlet yarn, and throw them into the fire where the heifer is burning. Then the priest must wash his clothes and bathe himself in water. Afterward, he may return to the camp, though he will remain ceremonially unclean until evening. The man who burns the animal must also wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and he too will remain ceremonially unclean until evening. Then someone who is ceremonially clean will gather up the ashes of the heifer and deposit them in a purified place outside the camp. They will be kept there for this community of Israel to use in the water for the purification ceremony. This ceremony is performed for the removal of sin. The man who gathers up the ashes of the heifer must also wash his clothes, and he will remain ceremonially unclean until evening. This is a permanent law for the people of Israel and any foreigners who live among them. All those who touch a dead human body will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days. They must purify themselves on the 3rd and 7th day with the water of purification. Then they will be purified. But if they do not do this on the 3rd and 7th days, they will continue to be unclean even after the 7th day. All those who touch a dead body and do not purify themselves in the proper way defile the Lord's tabernacle, and they will be cut off from the community of Israel. Since the water of purification was not sprinkled on them, their defilement continues. This is the ritual law that applies when someone dies inside a tent. All those who enter the tent and those who were inside when the death occurred will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days. Any open container in the tent that was not covered with a lid is also defiled. And if someone in an open field touches the corpse of someone who was killed with a sword or who died a natural death, or if someone touches a human bone or a grave, that person will be defiled for 7 days. To remove the defilements, put some of the ashes from the burnt purification offering in a jar, and then pour fresh water over them. Then someone who is ceremonially clean must take a hyssop branch and dip it into the water. That person must sprinkle the water on the tent, on all the furnishings in the tent, and on the people who were in the tent, also on the person who touched the human bone, or who touched someone who was killed, or who died naturally, or touched the grave. On the 3rd and 7th days, the person who is ceremonially clean must sprinkle the water on those who are defiled. Then on the 7th day, the people being cleansed must wash their clothes and bathe themselves. Then that evening they will be cleansed of their defilement. But those who become defiled and do not purify themselves will be cut off from the community, for they have defiled the sanctuary of the Lord. Since the water of purification has not been sprinkled on them, they remain defiled. This is a permanent law for the people. Those who sprinkle the water of purification must afterward wash their clothes, and anyone who then touches the water used for purification will remain defiled until evening. Anything or anyone that a defiled person touches will be ceremonially unclean until evening. There's an extra step in there because, like before, when you were ceremonially unclean for touching a dead body, you just had to wait the 7-day waiting period to be clean again. And now there's the purification of the holy water that, we'll call it holy water, that needs to be sprinkled on you on the 3rd and 7th day. With each, it seems like with each level of rebellion and then being made right with the Lord, there's an increase in purification steps, because I think it's just the number of times you make the Lord unpleased with your rebellion means that there's another layer, right, of purification that you need to go through to remain good or right with him in his sight. He forgave you, but he remembers. He forgave you, but he remembers the actions, which means even though you're forgiven, there's no way he can be okay, well, no, not. You're forgiven and you're welcome into the fold. You are one of his people. But when you are unclean, you must go through a process to be clean again. And that process lengthened, seemingly, every time there was a rebellion or a cut off from the Lord. An attempted separation from the Lord. Numbers 20. Moses strikes the rock. In the first month of the year, the whole community of Israel arrived in the wilderness of Zin and camped at Kadesh. While they were there, Miriam died and was buried. Is that Moses' wife? There was no water for the people to drink at that place, so they rebelled against Moses and Aaron. The people blamed Moses and said, "If only we had died in the Lord's presence with our brothers. Why have you brought the congregation of the Lord's people into the wilderness to die, along with all our livestock? Why did you make us leave Egypt and bring us here to this terrible place. This land has no grain, no figs, no grapes, no pomegranates, and no water to drink." Moses and Aaron turned away from the people and went to the entrance of the tabernacle, where they fell down on the ground. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to them, and the Lord said to Moses, "You and Aaron must take the staff and assemble the entire community. As the people watch, speak to the rock over there, and it will pour out its water. You will provide enough water from the rock to satisfy the whole community and their livestock." So Moses did as he was told. He took the staff from the place where it was kept before the Lord. So this is the staff that had the blooms on it, that was kept in the tabernacle, in front of the ark. Then he and Aaron summoned the people to come and gather at the rock. "Listen, you rebels," he shouted. "Must we bring you water from this rock?" Then Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with the staff, and water gushed out, so the entire community and their livestock drank their fill. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not trust me enough to demonstrate my holiness to the people of Israel, you will not lead them into the land I am giving them. Because you did not trust." He said this to Moses and Aaron. Wait, when did Moses and Aaron display a moment of distrust here? "You will not lead them into the land I am giving them." This place was known as the waters of Meribah, which means arguing, because there the people of Israel argued with the Lord, and there he demonstrated his holiness among them. Where did Moses and Aaron I'm trying to figure out where Moses and Aaron displayed faith, and the lack of faith, and the only thing I can think of is that they turned away from the people and went to the entrance of the tabernacle, where they fell down on the ground, and the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to them. Compare. I don't see it. Edom refuses Israel's passage. While Moses was at Kadesh, he sent ambassadors to the king of Edom with this message. "This is what our relatives, the people of Israel, say." This is what your relatives, the people of Israel, say. "You know all the hardship we have been through. Our ancestors went down to Egypt, and we lived there a long time. And we and our ancestors were brutally mistreated by the Egyptians. But when we cried out to the Lord, he heard us, and he sent an angel who brought us out of Egypt. Now we are camped at Kadesh, a town on the border of your land. Please let us travel through your land. We will be careful not to go through your fields and vineyards. We won't even drink the water from your wells. We will stay on the king's road and never leave it until we have passed through your territory." But the king of Edom said, "Stay out of my land, or I will meet you with an army." So these surrounding areas are hostile. And to stay on the king's road means you'll stay under their supervision the whole time you're there. The Israelites answered, "We will stay on the main road. If our livestock drink your water, we will pay for it. Just let us pass through your country. That's all we ask." But the king of Edom replied, "Stay out. You may not pass through our land." With that, he mobilized his army and marched out against them with an imposing force. Because Edom refused to allow Israel to pass through their country, Israel was forced to turn around. The death of Aaron. The whole community of Israel left Kadesh and arrived at Mount Hor. There, on the border of the land of Edom, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, the time has come for Aaron to join his ancestors in death. He will not enter the land I am giving the people of Israel, because the two of you rebelled against my instructions concerning the water at Meribah. When? I don't understand. Okay, so you rebelled against my instructions concerning the water. Meribah. But when? Now take Aaron and his son Eleazar to Mount Hor. There you will remove Aaron's priestly garments and put them on Eleazar, his son. Aaron will die there and join his ancestors. Wait, when? When? Is it because he struck the rock twice? Okay, so they're in this place and there's no water for them to drink. So and Moses and Aaron turn away from the people, being all angry and upset, and they go to the tabernacle. There at the tabernacle, they receive instructions from the Lord. You and Aaron must take the staff and assemble the entire community. As the people watch, speak to the rock over there, and it will pour out its water. Oh. So the instructions were to speak to the rock, and the rock will pour out its water. Yeah, so the instructions here, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. We'll highlight this in yellow. So, assemble the entire community, have them watch as you speak to the rock, and it will pour out its water. You will provide enough water from the rock to satisfy the whole community and their livestock. So Moses did as he was told. He took the staff from the place where it was kept before the Lord. Check. Then he and Aaron summoned the people to come and gather at the rock. Check. Listen, you rebels, he shouted. Must we bring you water from this rock? Then, it's in verse 11, then Moses raises his hand and struck the rock twice with the staff, and the water gushed out. So the entire community and their livestock drank their fill. So that's where Moses fails to follow through. I didn't realize that was a demonstration of rebellion. I mean, I guess that was, right? Because you're getting clear instructions and you do something else. That was out of a lack of faith as well. Because you did not trust me enough to demonstrate my holiness to the people of Israel, you will not lead them into the land that I am giving them. Damn. It was so subtle, I almost missed it. Like, damn. So subtle, I missed it until I had to keep going back and reading it over. Like, so instead of speaking to it, Moses speaks to the community. Instead of speaking to the rock, Moses speaks to the community, and then he lashes out his anger and hits this rock that he was supposed to speak to and I guess leave unharmed. He was supposed to demonstrate his holiness to the people of Israel. because you did not trust me enough to demonstrate my holiness to the people of Israel, you will not lead them into the land I am giving them. So Moses did as the Lord commanded. Sorry, I jumped from Numbers 20 to 27. Numbers 20, 27 from up at Numbers 11. So Numbers 20, 27. So Moses did as the Lord commanded. The three of them went up Mount Hor together as the whole community watched. At the summit, Moses removed the priestly garments from Aaron and put them on Eleazar, Aaron's son. Then Aaron died there on the top of the mountain, and Moses and Eleazar went back down. When the people realized that Aaron had died, all Israel mourned for him 30 days. There. There. Victory over the Canaanites. The Canaanite king of Arad and who lived in Negev heard that the Israelites were approaching on the road through Atharim. So he attacked the Israelites and took some of them as prisoners. Then the people of Israel made this vow to the Lord: if you will hand these people over to us, we will completely destroy all their towns. The Lord heard the Israelites' request and gave them victory over the Canaanites. The Israelites completely destroyed them and their towns, and the place has been called Hormah ever since. Hormah, which means destruction. Oh no, what does that mean? I don't like that. Oh no. The bronze snake. And then the people of Israel set out from Mount Hor, taking the road to the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom. But the people grew impatient with the long journey, and they began to speak against God and Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die here in the wilderness? They complained. That's their number one complaint. There is nothing to eat here and nothing to drink, and we hate this and we hate this horrible manna. What's funny is that this is the manna is stuff that they prayed for and asked for and complained about. They needed food, yes. They wanted food, yes. They kept saying there's nothing to eat. The land of milk and honey of Egypt had more, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying there's nothing to eat or drink here, but yet they're being provided for. If they're like, why complain oh, there's nothing to eat and drink, instead of just turning to the Lord and be like, hey, can you give us something to eat and something to drink, please? We are thirsty, and I know you provide. We are hungry, and I know you provide. Or turn to the Lord and just gently ask, Lord, oh God, can you please give us something to eat besides this manna? Because it's been 40 years, and I just would like something new, if that's what, that's cool with you. I just think the biggest issue here is that while their requests are valid, it's delivered in the form of complaint, which is unfaithful, right? Rather than going God, I'm thirsty, but I know you'll provide. Can you grant us something to drink? Grant us some water. Right? Isn't the biggest problem The fact that these requests are coming in the form of complaint, well, they're not coming as requests. The fact that their issues are being presented as complaints that whittle away their faith, rather than going, our God has brought us out of the Egypt where we were sure to die into the wilderness. I'm sure he didn't bring us here to leave us halfway. So, like, God, though I see nothing to eat here, though I see nothing to drink here, can you provide us with a meal and drink? You will provide us with a meal and drink. Make it a request in your faith rather than a complaint in your unfaithfulness. Right? Like, if you make it a request in your faith rather than a complaint in your unfaithfulness, if you say what you need to say, what's heavy on your heart, what you want to lament about, but in faith, like, oh my God, I see nothing but problems, but I know you are here with me. These problems won't overcome me. Like, I just don't understand. So the Lord sent poisonous snakes among the people, and many were bitten and died. Then the people came to Moses and cried out, "We have sinned by speaking against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take away the snakes." So Moses prayed for the people. Then the Lord told him, "Make a replica of a poisonous snake and attach it to a pole. All who are bitten will live if they simply look at it." So Moses made a snake out of bronze and attached it to the pole. And anyone who was bitten by the snake could look at the bronze snake and be healed. This right here is giving me, Numbers 21:6 through, let's see, 8, I guess. Yeah, it's giving me very much, let my people go. Remember when it's like, okay, so the Lord sent his plague, whatever, and the Pharaoh was like, oh, forgive me, I'll let the people go. Just pray to me and to your Lord so that this is gone, so that this is through. And then once Moses prayed and removed whatever plague was bothering the Egyptians at the time, Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and they proceeded to hold on to the captive slaves. I feel like we're at the same rhythm at this point with the Israelites. They're complaining against Moses. They receive some kind of punishment, divine punishment for their complaints. They go back to Moses and say, "Sorry, we complained. Make us right with the Lord." And then Moses does just that. And then they proceed to find some other complaint later down the road. It's giving me repetitive. So Moses made, now we're on Israel's journey to Moab. And this is Numbers 21:10. The Israelites traveled next to Oboth, and camped there. Then they went on to Abarim, in the wilderness of the eastern border of Moab. From there they traveled to the valley of Zered Brook and set up camp. Then they moved out and camped on the far side of the Arnon River, in the wilderness adjacent to the territory of the Amorites. Then Arnon is the Arnon is the boundary line between the Moabites and the Amorites. For this reason, the book of the wars of the Lord speaks of the book of the wars of the Lord. The book For this reason, the book of the wars of the Lord speaks of the town of Waheb in the area of Sufa and the ravines and the ravines of the Arnon River, and the ravines that extend as far as the settlements of Ar on the border of Moab. From there the Israelites traveled to Beer, which means well, which is the well where the Lord said to Moses, "Assemble the people, and I will give them water." There the Israelites sang the song. Got questions? Got questions. Your questions, biblical answers. Okay, let's see. What is the book of the wars of the Lord? The book of the wars of the Lord is a book referenced in scripture but not lost to us. But now lost to us. Oh, we don't even. Okay. The only information we have about the book of the wars is that the Lord is. Book of the wars of the Lord is what is found in one passage of scripture. The way it is mentioned in scripture would indicate that it was somewhat well known or accessible to people of ancient Israel. Such lost books are not uncommon because very few ancient books have survived to present day. Given the impermanency of most ancient writings, it is a testament to the miracle of scripture that the book of the Bible had done more than survive. There are so many ancient copies that we can, with great certainty, discern what the original said. Okay. So in Numbers 21:10 through 15, this is where the book of the passages references the book of the wars of the Lord. According to Numbers 21, Israel was careful to stay out of Edomite, Moabite, and Amorite territory, camping along the Arnon River. Edom was descended from Esau, and Moab from Lot. These were not part of the Canaanite people that Israel was supposed to destroy. In Numbers 20, Moses had requested permission to pass through the land of Edom since it was a more direct route to the land of Canaan. Edom refused permission and mustered an army to keep Israel out, but Israel simply withdrew and traveled another direction. Ancient borders were often a source of contention, and Israel was very careful to stay out of Moabite territory. Moses sent messengers to King Sihon of the Amorites requesting passage through their territory, promising, "We will not turn aside into any field, vineyard, or drink water from any well. We will travel on the king's highway until we have passed through your territories." That's Numbers 21:22, which we just read. However, Sihon refused to allow the Israelites in his land, and he mustered an Amorite army against Israel. Okay. From the title of the Book of the Wars of the Lord, some assume that it was a book about battles in which the Lord fought, or perhaps were fought on his behalf, and it may have been just such a book. However, Hebrew books were often named by the first word or phrase in the book, and were not a summary of the book's contents. For instance, the book of Exodus is called Shemot in Hebrew, which means names. The book of Exodus begins, "These are the names of the sons of Israel who went to Egypt with Jacob." Thus, the title of the ancient book might tell very little about the content of the book. So, in summary, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Okay. So the people of Israel are at this well in there, and they start to sing this song. "Spring up, O well, yes, sing its praises. Sing of this well, which princes dug, which great leaders hollowed out with their scepters and staffs." Then the Israelites left the wilderness and proceeded on through Mathana, Nahaliel, and Bamoth. After that, they went on to the valley in Moab, where Pisgah Peak overlooks the wasteland. Victory over Shion and Og. The Israelites sent ambassadors to King Shion of the Amorites with this message: "Let us travel through your land. We will be careful not to go through your fields and vineyards. We won't even drink water from your wells. We will keep to this king's road until we have passed through your territory." But King Shion refused to let them cross his territory. Instead, he mobilized his entire army and attacked Israel in the wilderness, engaging them in battle at Jahazah. But the Israelites slaughtered them with their swords and occupied their land from the Arnon River to the Jabbok River. They went only as far as the Amorite border because the boundary of the Amorites was fortified. Ammonite border, because their boundary was fortified. So Israel captured all the towns of the Amorites and settled in them, including the city of Heshbon and its surrounding villages. Heshbon had been the capital of King Shion of the Amorites. He had defeated a former Moabite king and seized all his land as far as the Arnon River. Therefore, the ancient poets wrote this about him: "Come to Heshbon and let us rebuild it. Let the city of Shion be restored. A fire flamed forth from Heshbon, a blaze from the city of Shion. It burned the city of Ar in Moab. It destroyed the rulers of Arnon Heights. What sorrow awaits you, O people of Moab? You are finished, O worshippers of Shemosh. Shemosh has left his sons as refugees, his daughters and captives of Shion, the Amorite king. We have utterly destroyed them from Heshbon to Dedan. We have completely wiped them out, as far away as Nophah, and Medeba. So who wrote this? Therefore the ancient ancient poets wrote this about him. They wrote this about King Shion. Yeah, so the Israelites captured all the towns of the Amorites and settled in them, which the city of Heshbon and its surrounding villages, including the city of Heshbon and its surrounding villages. Heshbon had been the capital of King Shion of the Amorites. He had defeated the former Moabite king and seized all of the land. Therefore, the ancient poets. Yeah, okay. So the people of Israel occupied the territory of the Amorites after Moses sent men to explore the Jazer area. They captured all the towns in the region and drove out the Amorites who lived there. Numbers 21:33. Then they turned and marched up the road to Bashan, but King Og of Bashan and all his people attacked them at Edrei. The Lord said to Moses, "Do not be afraid of him, for I have handed him over to you, along with all his people and his land. Do the same to him as you did to King Shion of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon. And Israel killed King Og, his sons, and all his subjects. Not a single survivor remained. Then Israel occupied their land." Whew! Israel's tough, yo. Like, I can't. The Edom king or whatever who wouldn't let Israel pass through their lands, I can see why. Because, right, let's say some kerfuffle unfolds between the Israelites who are walking down this land on the king's road and one of the Edomite villagers or whatever, right? Then you're afraid of what the Lord's wrath is gonna bring to your city. Like, you've watched city after city be destroyed, town after town be destroyed by the Israelites. You saw what happened to the Egyptians, and this massive army practically. He's like, "Yo, let me pass through your land. We promise we won't do nothing. We're just gonna pass through your land, okay? We'll just stay here until we're go." Right? It'd be kind of a foolish move to be like, "Oh yeah, this foreign force, bigger than our force, who has the Lord with them, is just going to march through our lands without causing any issue." From that standpoint, I can see where the fear is and why they would go and reject the request. No, we're not letting you pass through. They were lucky they didn't have to actually battle them, and the Israelites instead withdrew. And then for him to be like, "Do the Lord said handle them the same way you handled King Shion and the Amorites." And then it's read that Israel killed King Og, his sons, and all his subjects. Not a single survivor remained. I mean, in reading, I stand with the Israelites, obviously. I stand with the Lord, obviously. However, if we want to talk to this in the line of good and evil or whatever, right? Like, if you really want to read a narrative and go, "Oh, okay, I'm glad they won," I am glad they won. They had the power of the Lord with them. They had the will of the Lord aligned with them. God wanted these people removed for reasons unbeknownst to me. Mainly probably their sin. When you're looking at this as a foreigner from not an Israelite, what you see is the Israelites going and conquer lands. The conqueror can be portrayed as the villain. So the subjects of where are we? Amorites. Right? It's the Amorites. And who else? well, whatever. The subjects there are going like, oh, the Israelites are the villain. The Israelites are the ones who've killed their king and his sons and all the people, all the subjects of this land, and then took the land for themselves. So there could be a finger in history here that wants to blame the Israelites for the way they've conquered these places. That's cold, Joe. That's like, yeah, do what you did over there to the Amorites, and all the Israelites killed not a single survivor. Yeah, God has a way of wiping out lands that are displeasing to him, bro. It reminds me of Sodom, which, I mean, I guess he wiped out in his own, with his own hands. And the Israelites have been raised as his soldiers. It was said before that you are my forces. So he's wiping out these lands because the Israelites are his forces. King. Psalms 46. For the choir director, a song of the descendants of Korah to be sung by soprano voices. God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. So we will not fear when earthquakes come and mountains crumble into the sea. Let the oceans roar and foam, let the mountains tremble as the waters surge. A river brings joy to the city of our God, the sacred home of the Most High. God dwells in that city. It cannot be destroyed. From the very break of day, God will protect it. The nations are in chaos and their kingdoms crumble. God's voice thunders and the earth melts. The Lord of heaven's army is here among us, and the God of Israel is our fortress. Come, see the glorious work of the Lord. See how he brings destruction upon the world. He causes wars to end throughout the earth. He breaks the bow and snaps the spear. He burns the shield with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be honored by every nation. I will be honored throughout the world. The Lord of heaven's armies is here among you. The God of Israel is our fortress. I love that these are written by Korah's descendants, right? Because it means that somewhere down the generational line, the person who rebelled against the Lord, well, technically their rebellion was more of a rebellion against the Lord in the way that they were rebelling against Moses and Aaron because they wanted to be closer to the Lord. So it was a misguided devotion to the Lord, you could say, that led Korah to protest against Aaron and Moses. Yeah, but the fact that there are descendants now who go down the line of, like the generational sins are carried down from the third to fourth, all of that, there are still Korah descendants that are like, we love the Lord, he is our fortress, and can sing his praises, who have renewed faith and can still sing his praises. Where was Moses and Aaron's rebellion? Was it Was it 20? Yeah, 2011. Numbers 2011. Why do you think he strikes the rock instead of speaking to it? Is he just angry? Is he overwhelmed by his task? Was it a momentary lapse? Maybe he needed a moment of separation. Like, instead of going straight to end to the task that was given to him, maybe he just needed to pray. Pray with the Lord. And, you know, sometimes, like, sometimes we forget how much of a necessity separation is. I don't want to say isolation, but separation is different. Especially when you're put in positions of authority, when you're put in positions to lead, when you're surrounded by people who are dependent on you. Separation. To go spend time with God and renew yourself when your cup is empty. Who are you? And do you know how to fill your cup again? Sometimes we forget how often we need to go get that refill. And I think in that moment where Moses strikes this rock instead of speaking to him, he was just so empty. He was tired of hearing the continuous complaints. He was tired of the weight of Israel on him. He was tired too of walking through the wilderness, of being so close to his promised land and not gaining it. Like, he was tired. There was a Bible plan reminder the other day that said even Jesus had to continuously separate himself to renew himself, to spend time alone with the Lord. And like, that pattern, so that every time when Jesus was tested, I wonder if his 40 days in the wilderness mimics the 40 days that was spent to, and this is just a wonder. I wonder if those 40 days he spent in the wilderness being tested by the devil was to mimic those 40 years, which was originally the 40 days that Caleb and the 12, or Caleb and the other 11, were scouting out the promised land. Because it all just feels like an intertwined story, right? Because to redeem something, you kind of have to use the same stuff. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, separation is important. Like, even if you think you're walking or you're working, you're operating, you're fine, and you're not drained, you're not weary, you're operating in the Spirit, go separate yourself anyway. It's fine to get a refill on a partially full cup. Like, it's just like, you don't have to be empty to want to go back to the Lord and wait for that refill. Like, you want to always be full. Always be topped off. Just go get topped off. Like, if there was a spiritual gauge operating in your head, you know, where you can like almost like a gas gauge, where you can see that you're creeping closer and closer to empty, and then you just went to go get it full, but you wrapped around the block like 4 times, and then you got caught in traffic, and now you're a quarter of the way through your tank. Like, something happened, and now you're a quarter of the way through your tank. You know, you might even be in a moment in your life where there are holes in your tank, and that refill becomes even more necessary. Yeah, so that's my message to y'all. When's the last time y'all got topped off in the Spirit? When's the last time you went to go get in that separation to get your refill? But I think I need to go get my refill because I am weary. I'm tired. I'm tired. So I'm gonna go. Much love to all of y'all. Have a good day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.